Welcome back, folks. Before we go on, I just want to check on some sports stats, keep myself sharp here on the sports, and I'll use my computer and just go in here, and I'm going to check, okay.
Feels good to hear that again. Let's hear it again. Double bang. Welcome to Too Much Dip. My name's Dave. God, it feels good to be back. No Dylan today. He's in Breck. You probably knew that. Check out his Instagram. It's just me, KJ, and Micah. What's up, lads?
Bringing the heat today.
Don't forget about Dippy.
Well, I was going to say, off the top, we're doing this one for Dippy. We're doing Dippy in 2021. You thought we were leaving that in 2020. You were wrong.
Let's go! You know what I'm going to leave in 2020? Cole Campbell bits, especially on episodes where Dylan isn't here to just cackle at the jokes.
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes that require Dylan, for support, and I was kind of.
We're not going to get any of those off this year.
I was playing hurt today on circling back. I'll just say that. I think it was still a good episode, but he'll be back for the live stream we do Thursday. He's getting back in town tonight or tomorrow. So, but what's up, KJ? How are you?
I do have to confess. I did have a brush with death over the weekend. I don't even know if I've told you about it.
You have not?
Not just how many times I ended up in the gulag during our Warzone matches. But for those on the Discord, you may be aware I have undertaken the undertaken the task of redoing a wet bar at my house.
Oh.
Yes.
You did tell me about this.
And the reason for that is we had a wine fridge, which is not built to chill beers upstairs at our house. And so I wanted a beverage cooler. All the beverage coolers were taller than the space I needed, required me to raise the countertop. Simple task for advanced human being. I'm not one of those. I have had to YouTube every single step of the way, but I've ripped everything out, acquired all of the items. The Discorders have helped guide me through this process.
It's huge.
But when I ripped out the cabinet, there's a little bit of moisture back there, a little bit of mold. Nothing crazy. Small amount. So, being a knowledgeable human being that I am, I did grab some bleach, mix it with some water, sprayed it on there, wiped down the wall, went back to Home Depot for time number 20 of 35 over the last week. Came back, moved on to the next task. Got a little parched. I'd mixed that bleach in a water bottle.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Grabbed for said water bottle and took a full clamp.
On the bright side, at least you're immune from COVID.
I know.
You can just inject it.
So congrats on the self-injection.
Luckily, I didn't ingest it.
Ooh.
I will say those words instead of the other common term. But I did spit it out quite rapidly.
What's the other term?
Yeah, I didn't swallow it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
You can say that.
Yeah, I don't know. So, your boy dodged a bullet there by just checking out early due to just swallowing a mouthful of bleach.
To go out with what was the internet's most popular cut down 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, drink bleach.
Yeah.
To go out that way and you being an internet personality would have been tough. I wouldn't have been happy. I would have been very sad. But we could have gotten some content out of it.
It's true. There's very few words that scare me more than poison control.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, you have a young child. I assume that you have the number to poison control somewhere in your home displayed.
Somewhere in my recent call
phone.
history.
Oh, great. Well, it sounded like you're about to have to dial it again.
Oh,
hello,
man.
I drank bleach. Come get me.
That drink is poison.
So, that was the first, and hopefully last. That's one of...
hello, poison control.
Did it change? Weird question. Did it change anything? Did you notice any, in your gums, your tongue, any...
Everything was absurdly dry. I spit it out, I immediately rushed to the sink and just began, dog lapping the water, basically. And not drinking that water either. I just was trying to clean out that taste in my mouth. And it got drier and drier. And that's when I began to get worried because it didn't stop getting, my tongue didn't stop getting drier.
Your membranes.
And so I was like, all right, this is a bad situation. I didn't call for my wife or anything like that. I was just standing upstairs, leaning over a sink, drinking water.
Can you imagine? I just drank bleach.
So, I survived, This was in 2020. 2020 tried to get me before I got out of there.
You know, I haven't told anybody this. I was having so New Year's Eve, 11:30 rolled around. And we didn't do anything. Sitting at home, drinking some bourbon, hanging out with the Rand man who's getting a little firework anxious, as they often do. My neighborhood,
It's chaos over there.
yeah, dude, it's not good. South Austin goes a little bit overboard.
At least they're not shooting guns in the air.
That you know of.
Yeah, they might be.
Well,
They might be
I'm
letting
glad to
it
hear you and Randy didn't catch a stray.
Well, let me say this. I started getting you ever gotten a stitch? You know a stitch, the term, like when you're an athlete, you get a stitch, like, or a cramp.
Kind of like a localized cramp. If
okay.
I
sure.
got one in my chest, and I could not take a full breath for about 30 minutes. And this is going into the ball dropping and everything. And this is like, are you gonna be okay? I'm like, I think I'm okay. I can breathe enough, but like, at first she got real scared because I called her. I go, can you come down here? And like, she saw me like clutching at my chest, like when my heart is.
Oh no!
So she thought I was having a heart attack, and I was like, no, I just can't. I don't know what this is. And she's like, okay. And it finally went away, but it just feels like you can't breathe in all the way, and it's just like you get this weird feeling right here.
Like you want to slowly stretch it out, and it doesn't go away. Yeah,
You feel like if you take
terrible.
too big of a breath, it's gonna like pop.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds bad.
Yeah.
Did it go away by midnight?
No. I mean, that's how I started the fucking year.
Oh.
It was not 2020 fun. Sadly.
Micah, you're here in one
Yeah, wait,
piece?
how'd you almost die?
I think I was far from death. I played pickleball yesterday for the first time.
Where?
I'm pretty sore today. Up on
Golden?
up with at a on a tennis court. In fact, without the lines. We had a wonderful time. Charlie the dog was great. So she wasn't expecting to be there, but she just sat like a good girl.
I could see you being pretty good at that.
It's okay.
You played
It's
a lot
pretty
of hide
fun
the
game.
pickle growing up.
Thank you, David. Yeah. Not the first time.
Damn.
It's just really great to be here.
Can I just say, if there's one button on here, I just walk around the house and just say to myself, and with no like prompting, no context, it's the juice. It's damn.
Mine is definitely getting big. I don't know if you have
That's
it
a
on this
good
board
one,
or if
too.
that's KJ's, but
Yeah.
like anytime anything happens at my house, I'm just like getting big. God damn.
Will says
And-
it quite a bit too.
Yeah, and Caitlin has no idea what's going on. Like I was making a sandwich yesterday, and I was like, "Oh yeah, getting big, goddamn!" And she was like, what? "Wait, what? Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It's fine."
I'm just saying it's been ruined for me. I will say that. I can't hear those words and not hear the drop.
I'm
but,
just saying.
that
Yeah.
does bring up a good point. I have done some work on refreshing the Thursday night board, so for those who don't know,
That's a
keep
tease.
an eye out. Thursday night.
We do a live
7
stream
p.m.
every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, CST.
New Year's
Is there
Eve
even a game
excluded.
this week?
There's not a game, so
So straight up preview.
We will have Dylan back. We will spend all of Thursday previewing the NFL playoffs, so we
Which
won't
is
dive too
now
much into that.
now called. It's no longer called Wild Card Weekend. It's called Super Wild Card Weekend.
Okay.
You're going to hear a lot of tones from my phone. I've got a tile in my wallet.
Okay.
And when I put my elbow down in my wallet or I sit on it, it rings my phone. I need to fix that.
I
Sorry.
see. Yeah, you should work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Super Wild Card Weekend is what they're calling this now, that there's 3 Saturday games and 3 Sunday games. We will preview all 6 of them, but we will not call it Super Wild Card Weekend.
No.
Do you want to call it Super Live Stream Thursday? Or
Sure, maybe we should.
that sucks.
Yes, it sucks as bad as Super Wild
How
Card
about
Weekend.
diluted bleach Thursday?
Bleach in your mouth Thursday.
Oh man, bleach in your mouth. Hey, follow Too Much Dip on Twitter. That's Too Much Dip with 2 P's on Twitter, and Too Much Dip Podcast on Instagram. Too Much Dip Podcast on Instagram. I'm excited for Thursday. It's gonna be good. Dylan's chomping at the bit to get in here and dish some takes out. I think he's getting some FOMO. He's been messaging me like, "Hey man, talk about this, this, and this." I'm like, "All right, we'll see, man."
We're coming to the end of a very competitive dip picked season as well, I would imagine.
Things are getting tight. We will be picking playoff games to round this out, and maybe we'll double up on those big boy stacks to make it spicy.
Let's
And
put
we
something
will-
on the line.
Getting big.
We will. That's what I was going to say. We need to decide a payoff no later than the end of Thursday's episode.
And it will not be a vanity license plate. I don't know who suggested that. That is just, come on.
You don't want a vanity license plate that says "Kiss Fetish"?
No. Kiss fetish. That's not a fetish.
I don't know. You can't get
It's
through a
something
day
everyone
without
does that.
tonguing down the
Some
boys.
people like it up more than others, Dave. I have feet too, but there are people that like feet more than me.
Oh,
Do you think that's kept him out of the league more so than his like below average coaching? Speaking of Rex Ryan,
I mean,
here.
it's better for the jokes. I don't know.
I don't see how he hasn't become an offensive or defensive coordinator somewhere. Absolutely terrible
Just
head coach.
getting
but-
that sweet ESPN money, I
yeah,
guess.
I guess so.
I don't like him on there. He's too critical. I don't like how he's a dick to some of these players, man.
Very toothy.
Is it just me, or is there? I haven't listened to 2
Dippy's
minutes
cousin.
of pro football commentary on ESPN in years. There's no one there that appeals to me. Which is shocking.
What's your go-to pregame show?
Well, I will say this. I will put Fox on Sunday morning. I will also say this show is terrible. It's mostly insufferable. The over laughing. The guys just laugh at everything, and none of it's funny.
Jimmy's the only thing worth watching. Jimmy and Strahan. Honestly.
Yeah.
Well, and
Jimmy's fine.
What's our dude, ex-ticket guy that hosts it?
Oh yeah. James Brown. Nope, not James
No,
Brown.
James Brown, consummate
Brown,
professional.
yeah.
I find Kurt Menefee
Kurt
to be
Menefee, thank you.
I find him to be a lightweight. I just like when I switch back to CBS. James Brown, consummate professional,
why.
sits at the
But I think
60-minute desk
I
on
think
occasion.
Menefee jumps in and stays out of it. Like he's never the talk of the town. He's good on transitions. It's not so obstructive.
okay.
And like you can name like the fact that Chris Fowler is so present, or not Chris Fowler. Who runs college football? Or
It used to be Fowler. Now
it used to be
it's
Fowler, and now it's not
Reese
Reese
Davis.
Yeah, Reese Davis. Like both of them are names we know, and I don't feel like that role should be that.
perhaps. Just the show itself. Like they're just not. I never learn anything. Jay Glazer. The thing that makes me maddest about these shows is the NFL. Is obligated to name their inactives at 90 minutes before kickoff. So at 10:30, if I don't have Jay Glazer on my screen with a list of inactives behind me, I'm like, what are you doing? And none of them do it. And they've teased Jay Glazer twice. He's all jacked. He's doing Subway commercials. There's a lot going on. So
is all
my
jacked.
answer is probably no. And none of them, really.
He's the
It's-
new Jared
Two
Glazer.
items. I will first absolutely simp for Mina Kimes, who's on ESPN, but she does more than just football. Phenomenal writer.
She's not sitting at the desk on
she's not
Countdown
Sunday.
or whatever.
However, if you flip to CBS Sports Network, I think it is, it does like AAC games and college basketball quite a bit. It's called Tops or that other pregame show. There are a lot of trash elements about it. However, one of the best parts of it is Amy Trask, who was the former like chief operating officer for
Raiders,
the
right?
Raiders
Yeah.
forever, like one of the first female executives in football, and was like Al Davis's right hand woman forever. So she absolutely knows her shit inside and out, and is really good on camera as far as like hanging in there because she's remote. Everybody else is in studio because she's older and in California, and she's still like holds her own amongst conversations where she's not in the room. So Tops, check it out. Won't say it's a good show, but Chris Long or whichever son of Howie's,
one of the Longs.
one of the
is
Long
there.
kids is actually really, really good. Kind of like Golick. The kids might be better than the parents there.
Ooh.
Has
Like
Phil
that?
Simms ever
Spicy?
said anything interesting?
That is a kid who I couldn't see less of.
Oh, Chris.
Chris.
Yeah, we don't need. Yeah, they're everywhere.
No.
Collinsworth.
I prefer
too
the
many of them.
I prefer the CBS crew
Do you?
because it feels like more you're getting more business out of it. Like they're not farting around. Bill Cowher just has a presence about him.
Yeah.
Is that because you're wearing his mustache?
It is indeed. He's a guy that like people wanted to. They rumor like, oh, the Cowboys should go get Bill Cowher. They need a guy like Bill
Years.
Cowher forever. It's like, dude, he is not coaching in Dallas.
Jerry's not hiring that guy.
No,
He's the opposite of
he
anyone Jerry's
tried
gonna
that
hire.
with Parcells. Anyway,
We're way off topic,
We
but
are.
I think,
Yeah.
whatever.
let's just pivot
It's a
right
good shit.
into NFL. Want to do that?
Sure, unless you
bump-
want to talk about.
We could bump the read.
Oh, okay.
We'll bump the read.
We should probably start with the Sunday night game because that's what everyone. One, it's topical, and it's also what everyone's talking about. The Eagles basically surrendered last night, and the Washington football team won the NFC East. What was that?
I was trying to watch this and play Warzone, even though it was just me being just a sick human who, even though the boys, I was playing the what if game in my head, and Jalen Hurts, from what I watched, he wasn't having a good game. He wasn't having a bad game. He accounted for 2 of their scores, and they pulled him. Which I think he had said. Doug Peterson said before the game that he wanted to get Sudfeld some reps. But he's been on the squad for like 2 or 3 years, right? Like they know what they have.
Started several games for them.
They know what they have in Sudfeld.
You have the Seinfeld button. It was the most inexplicable decision I've ever seen in a game that shouldn't have mattered. But I think if you were going to go into it saying I needed to see Nate Sudfeld, roll his ass out there in the first quarter. Like Jalen Hurts had started a few games. You've seen what Jalen Hurts can do. And frankly,
but you haven't seen enough of it.
You haven't seen enough of it.
3+ games isn't. You'd
by
like to
all
get.
means.
You might as well get an extra quarter of Jalen Hurts.
But Jalen Hurts, you're not extending or not this year, and it's not a Tua situation where you need to know, am I building my franchise around him? To a certain extent, you need to answer that question because it affects Carson Wentz.
Yeah, if Carson's going to be gone anyway.
The problem I have with it is they were really playing with a difference between like the 7th pick and maybe the 10th pick had they won. Still wouldn't be going to the playoffs, but they would have fallen back a few spots. There is some difference there in like draft value because it affects you, on through the draft. But like, there's no reason not to go forward and try to win that game. Like you are absolutely losing the room, and I think you said that last night. Like you're not coming back from that with your players if they didn't go into the game knowing that was expected. Like for all we know, he told his team that. But if he didn't, dude, you're cooked.
Well, we just talked about how NFL pundits are like the least. They're serious, but like least funny. They take themselves more seriously than pundits of other sports, right?
Yes.
I've never seen such a one-sided Twitter outpouring last night as former athletes, pundits, every person who watches an NFL game is just like, I've never seen tanking like this, and I'm personally offended by it. And it was just inexplicable is the only word to describe it.
Yeah, from that standpoint, it kind of made me happy to see how bummed some of the Giants alumni were.
Okay.
There were 2 other things that stood out to me. One, this game was played in Philly without fans. What in the world does that look like if there's a full stadium of fans and that dude comes out on the field?
Batteries.
There's batteries. We're hearing the boos from South Austin. Like that is just a wild turn of events. And 2, that game long before the fourth quarter was fucking terrible. Both those NFC East games were awful. And like the first 7 possessions of the second half of the Sunday night game were 3 and outs and just pathetic.
I will say, though,
that's how that division deserved to go out in just terrible fashion.
The first half did give, I think, bigger than even the Sudfeld situation, which I think deserves a lot of attention, was Peterson's decision not to kick the field goal to tie the game at 17 and to go for it on 4th and 2 on like the 7 or 4th and goal on like the 7. That basically, and Hurts just missed. It was the last drive before half. Basically, obviously cost them a guaranteed 3 points. It was a chip shot within 20 yards. And you come back and you lose by 6. I'm not saying they wouldn't have lost 20-17, but that's when he was showing his cards like, okay, we're not, trying to win here. That was a warrant. Had Jalen Hurts not started in the second half, that would have been, more explicable. But hey, Eagles, I don't know. Again, if this was predetermined, Peterson's most likely okay. If it wasn't, wouldn't be shocked if he's not on the chopping block.
What's the deal with putting me in? Abrupt ending
Jerry.
on that one.
I don't know which character that was, but whatever.
I would have been mortified if the Cowboys had won yesterday and like everything was riding on that. Not that I had any delusion that they would make any noise in the playoffs, but just because it's more content for me personally, selfishly, like, I have something to kind of watch and at least be on Twitter for, and it's cool to have your team in the playoffs, even if they have no chance and they're going to get boat raced by Brady. But, oh my God, dude, poor Giants fans.
As I outlined today on Micah's Read of the Week, the newsletter.
There we go.
I'm thankful the Cowboys lost or just didn't make the playoffs because it makes Sober January much easier.
You're doing it. You're doing Sober January.
I'm doing it again. I've done it many times.
I'm doing Sober Weeknight January, if you're wondering.
Lovely. That's good. Well,
I'm going to stay emotionally sober all month long.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And
You're not going to drink bleach all January.
yes, it's bleach-free January.
Starting it
here
off
for the
with
Dippers.
a one-day cleanse.
But, I don't have to drink my way through a Cowboys 4-touchdown beatdown. Antonio Brown would do something. There's a 1,000% chance if they faced the Cowboys, he would have done something very disrespectful to the Cowboys. Probably had 3 touchdowns, dance on the star, did something.
The Cowboys would have done something very disrespectful, but we'll
That's
get
true.
there.
Well, yeah, we'll get to them later. I'm fine. But I think if you're a Giants fan, you've got to hate Peterson. It's a weird. It's just weird. We've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
All right. You want to talk about some coaches that have been fired?
I would like to.
All right. Well, let's do that. The playoffs are set, obviously, and as we mentioned, we will preview the games on Thursday's Bleach in the Mouth live stream. But the Jets, Jags, Colts, and Chargers have all fired their coaches. The Jets fired Adam Gase like the minute the game ended. They didn't wait for Black Monday or whatever it's called, which I really enjoyed that, just to show that they're not messing around. None of these should be. Wait, I have Colts here. The Colts have not fired their coach.
It was Chargers, I think. Is what you meant
I'm
to
sorry.
have down.
The Jets, Jags, and Chargers have so far fired their coaches. None of these are surprising. And,
Did you see where Gase's name is being thrown around?
Yes. Adam Gase, rumored to be the offense coordinator at Alabama, or in the mix, along with the dude from the Texans.
Bill O'Brien.
Whew. Woof.
Oh, woof.
I mean,
How long is that charade going to keep going? That Saban just brings in, Adam Gase is an absolutely terrible head coach. I don't think he's a particularly strong offensive coordinator, but I think there's value and high-level experience in that position to where if you're just a cog in an Alabama machine, Saban will get something out of you, or any other coach would if you were on the staff.
I did see a great tweet yesterday that said a picture of Tua's it factor, and it was just these 4 wide receivers that they have at Alabama that are just the baddest dudes on the planet and have proven it in the league with Judy and everybody else. Judy looked with the 92-yard touchdown yesterday.
Picture was also missing Najee Harris and Josh Jacobs and 7 NFL linemen.
Yeah,
and a defense that averaged 10 points.
The point being that yes, they put up 50 points a game, and we'll talk about this one later with Sarkisian. But yes, they've averaged 50 points a game. It's impressive. It's awesome. They're dynamic. There's a lot of studs there.
Are there any NFL coaching candidates that interest y'all? I mean, and I can read through the list. I mean, Brian Dabble, the OC for the Bills, is going to end up somewhere. Eric Bieniemy should have had a job a year ago. He did turn down the Jets job. I believe he had the opportunity to take that last year, if I remember correctly. He'll likely get more offers again this year. Wink Martindale, offense or defense coordinator for the Ravens, is out there. There's been talk about Matt Campbell being offered NFL jobs. A little strange to me.
That's
Urban is out there too.
Yeah, well, he's got a table reserved.
The narrative behind college coaches considering NFL jobs now more than they have in the past, because Kingsbury, when he came, was the first in 4 years, is that with the new transfer rules and the new likeness rules, where you're gonna have to work harder to keep your kids. You have to recruit them there, and nobody likes recruiting to begin with. And then once you get them on campus, you have to continue to kind of recruit them. Is going to be there's just too many headaches.
Yeah.
Where if there's an NFL opportunity, you just go coach football.
Yeah, I think so. It's weird because every time there's a Cowboys search, the hot college coach gets his name thrown in there. Last year was Lincoln Riley, right?
Lincoln Urban and Matt Rule were
Matt
all
Rule.
3 names that were quote unquote in the pot, but
Yeah,
I think Rule was probably at the bottom of the list for Cowboy fans at least.
And interestingly, their OC apparently had the job at Boise State. Still very confused about that. Troy made that really weird yesterday.
He did.
I don't know why he didn't accept it, but I guess Micah just gave us all of these reasons as to why you wouldn't accept it. In my opinion, you can always go back to being an OC. He's proven himself, and he can get out while his stock is high as an NFL OC. I don't think anybody would knock him if he fails as a college coach. Say, go get Kellen Moore. He'd be a decent OC.
Well, and I think that works even more the other way. If you're a college coach and you're successful and you go to the NFL and you fail, it does not stop you from getting another college job. Look at Nick Saban.
Right.
I mean, there's a bunch of these examples of dudes. If nothing else, your profile gets raised even if you fail. Bobby Petrino got an SEC job. There's a long history of that. So if I'm Lincoln Riley, I go take $6 million a year from somebody. And even if it goes terribly for 3 years, I go take the best college football job available. a year later. I
I
don't
would
know.
say in those situations, like the very rare exceptions of like Ohio State, Oklahoma, even Dan Mullen's coming up in some conversations for coaching jobs too.
Oh,
But I think
man.
you reserve those top 5 to 6 schools as kind of exceptions to the rule. Like you're not leaving if you're Bama or anywhere where you're getting paid 8-9 million a year as a college coach.
Yeah.
Unless things keep going the way that they are to make their jobs harder and harder and harder. I don't know.
You better bring that bleach if the Mullins are coming to town.
A lot of kissing.
But yeah, Urban Meyer's been tied to the Jaguars job. It's rumored that basically it's his if he wants it, and he's been calling around to see if he can put together a staff. He was at the Ohio State-Clemson game, which I think that's more for being at the Ohio State game than being there to see Trevor, who's assumed to be the number 1 pick. Trevor Lawrence, his girlfriend, did tweet out, like, thanks for the memories, basically, to Clemson. So
Do people really think he was there to see Trevor?
no,
Like, there's not enough tape on Trev?
It was a dumb tweet.
Yeah,
gotta
like
see it in
every
person.
game he's played since high school hasn't been on national television.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it was in all seriousness. It was just, he was there, and that was the line that got sent out. For the Jags job, of the 4 that are available right now, what do you feel like, or of the 3, I guess?
Well, the
3.
Texans job.
Oh, the
Texans are going to
Texans,
hire a new
yeah,
coach.
That should be on. So those 4, what do you feel like is the strongest available? You've got the Chargers with clearly the strongest quarterback situation.
The Texans might argue with you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And,
it's
you know,
not on
if
your
you
side.
re-
I keep thinking the Muxies.
And if you believe in Trevor Lawrence, you've got him in Jacksonville now.
And you've got the strongest draft haul of any team
Yes.
by a long shot next year. You've got 2 1s, 2 2s, a 3, 2 4s, 2 5s, and then a 7. Like, they've got so
They
many
got
picks.
guys.
Yeah, I was thinking the Texans' job is interesting because obviously they have Deshaun.
And
But they have no draft capital.
They have no draft capital, and their ownership and management is, I mean, well documented, terrible. So you got to have a guy who is at least a player's coach, right? Because I mean, there's no way Deshaun's happy right now. I don't know what his deal looks like.
J.J. Watt wants out of town.
Yeah, oh God.
I'm so happy we missed that J.J. Watt rant. I was not on board with that. But, yeah, I don't know what the strongest option is. For me, I would probably say Chargers, pending what the Jags landscape looks like after the draft.
Oh, you're saying like which would be the best destination?
Mm-hmm. Or the most attractive job based on current roster and projected
I think
roster.
Chargers is the answer.
Aside from the fact that you've got to play Patrick Mahomes twice, I think so.
I mean, you know you have an offense that can put up points. They lost a lot of close games this year, right?
Chargers, yeah. They lost an absurd amount of close games. Like
Yes.
6 or 7 by less than 10
I
points
feel
or
like they're
something.
always competitive. So
They're-
that would be my
And
choice.
you've got Bosa.
Yeah, they got some players. It's L.A.
But there might be more pressure to win sooner. Like where if you take like the Jacksonville job, and assuming you take Lawrence, like you got a couple years to develop him. So
No doubt.
interesting.
Don't tell that to Cliff Kingsbury, who people are absolutely shredding. He had some boneheaded decisions, I guess. He punted with like 4 minutes to go in a game that was very winnable and would have gotten them into the playoffs. But people are asking for his head. It's not going to happen. But
Who posted his record as a head coach, like overall, going back to college?
I saw that. It drives me insane. Like, I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is, Bill Belichick or anything like that. But I think what he's done in the NFL compared to what everyone's expectations of him doing has been decent. Certainly, had they won the game yesterday, we would all be talking about Cliff like, hey, this worked.
So they would have been. It
Yeah.
was a win in their end
They were-
situation.
I think I said this at the beginning of the season, but last year they should have won. Like the expectations were for them to win 3 or 4 games. I think they won 5 or 6.
Right.
This year the expectation was to go 8-8. They went 8-8. They looked most of the season to be ahead of schedule in a rebuild. The pressure comes next year for Cliff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a tough loss for them. I mean, who is LA's? Who's the Rams' starting quarterback? Exactly.
His name's Wolford. I don't know where the
Like
guy's
you can't
from.
lose that game
I don't know who
when
he is.
it's a win in your end game against a guy who doesn't play.
Yeah, especially when you've got all of your weapons offensively. You are playing one of the best defenses in the league, so your strength on strength there. But it was an ugly game up and down.
They'll get Chandler Jones back next year. I feel like he's not talked about enough. I just like referencing him.
I
'cause I'm
forgot
a
that he
Johnny
was out
Bones
all year.
Jones guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude's a monster. Him and Isaiah Simmons on the same defense is going to be great. I don't think they figured out Isaiah Simmons yet, but he had a fumble, forced fumble yesterday. That just, it's one of those things you see people who see the game quicker than everybody else in the field. He's just like running up to make a tackle. He sees the ball, and just like Peanut Williams is out. Is it Peanut Tillman?
Tillman. Yeah, indeed.
Bears talk for you.
Indeed. You guys,
Hey,
do you want to go to the early window, or you want to talk about Grammarly?
you know what? I would love to talk about Grammarly.
I think we should.
I've been sending a lot of emails over the break. Have you been doing that?
I sent an email newsletter out to people. You could subscribe at micahweiner.substack.com.
There's more to clear, effective communication, Micah, than just catching a spelling mistake here or there, you know?
It's true. Nothing more embarrassing.
Grammarly Premium gives you real-time feedback and insights to help you elevate your writing through tone, word choice, clarity, and more. That's some, I have trouble sometimes, using the right word. I want to be different. I want to be unique. Grammarly gives you that option. It basically tells you like, no, this sentence is bad. You could have used a better word here. It's very helpful. It's like a safety net for your emails or for whatever communication you're using. We get so many messages and documents, things start to blend together or sound the same. More effective writing is the key to making better connections. Grammarly Premium gives you real-time insights, like I said, even guides you on tone, which Dylan's not here. Dylan will admit, terrible on tone. He just sometimes comes across as very blunt. Okay? Love the guy, but he knows it. Grammarly has helped him out big time. Big time.
What I like the most about Grammarly is how easily it syncs to everywhere that I write. Either my Substack, as I mentioned, michaelweiner.substack.com, or on it will improve your tweets. If you open Google Docs, no matter where you're working, email, it automatically just syncs. It's easy. It gives you a little red light, green light. It's a really cool tool, and it's so easy. I'm a big fan.
I wonder if Bean Dad would have had Grammarly if it would have told him just don't do this tweet storm.
It would have worked out a little bit better for old Bean Dad.
Level up your writing for work, school, personal projects, passion projects, whatever. The premium features include advanced suggestions on grammar, punctuation, structure, and style. It's the perfect writing tool for anybody. And guess what? We have a special offer.
Level up.
Elevate your writing with 20% off Grammarly Premium by signing up at Grammarly.com/bang. Again, Grammarly.com/bang.
Bang!
That'll get you 20% off Grammarly Premium. Grammarly.com/bang.
Woo! Let's go to the early games because I believe it was 8 early games, 8 late games, or there were 8 late games. There was definitely an octobox in the late afternoon window. The Bills killed the Dolphins in a game the Dolphins had to have to make the playoffs. The Bills clinched the number 2 seed.
Tough seed for Tua.
Bills are a problem. They look great. They've completed a 13-3 season. Josh Allen has set every record in franchise history, which is impressive. Tua looked awful. Basically, the Finns were eliminated. They do get the number 3 pick in the draft because they own the Texans pick.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
And so now the conjecture will start as to whether they're going to take one of these quarterbacks and toss Tua aside. I will say this in Tua's defense, and a little breaking news here. The Dolphins have fired their offensive coordinator, Chan Gailey.
Oh, no.
So if there was ever a reason to cut someone some slack, it's if they've spent their rookie year playing under Chan Gailey.
Just going out and digging up some Vidalias. It blows my mind that programs like LSU had to fire freaking Scott Linehan and Bo Pelini this year. That the Miami effing Dolphins are firing Chan Gailey in 2020, 2021. Like, for NFL teams to be looking at head coaches like Cliff Kingsbury and Zach Taylor, like, how does that not trickle down to someone like taking a flyer on an offense coordinator? This might be the only realm in which like Jerry Jones kind of gets some shit right by like hiring Kellen Moore as like an OC way before he was ready to be ready. And, in fact, he's ready. Like, that's so ridiculous. Anyways.
Wait, you mean if you can't bring a guy who's been out of football for 4 years into your organization? That's
No, but he has like a farmhouse where he's been doing analytics deep dives. Do you
Yeah.
have one of those? No, you don't.
I've never gotten paid to not work.
I'm a fan of a team.
as soon as that happens, I will build a shed.
I'm a fan of a team that hired Coughlin to be their like czar of everything football for several years. He did get us the AFC Championship, but he also put a stopwatch over people's training tables and we're like, if you're not done
Set
with
all
rehab,
the clocks ahead of time and all that.
Micromanagement.
Oh my gosh. Anyhow, so yeah, Dolphins lost.
Yeah, Tua, man. I don't know. That sucks. I mean, I've kind of bought into the Tua story. You know, I don't know. After that hip injury, I was buying into he's not going to play again. He may not play again. That's a pretty serious injury. And now it just looks like he's incredibly average. Hard to say.
We'll
very
see.
early. Very early.
You know, the smartest thing that I've heard about him is that everyone says his ceiling is left-handed Drew Brees. That he's accurate, that he moves well enough in the pocket, that he's an extremely accurate passer. The problem has also been this time is he is unable to throw the ball down the field like Drew Brees has this season, which is more concerning.
But why would a team like the Dolphins ever get rid of a Drew Brees when they've got some potential injury issues?
It's a great question. It's a great question.
If I'm in Miami, I'm saying I can't have that. I got to have a guy whose ceiling is the roof.
The ceiling is the roof.
If I'm a Dolphins fan, Fields, man, he's obviously the second guy off the board, second quarterback off the board.
Unless my
right?
nightmare comes true, but we'll get there.
Oh,
All right, let's keep moving. The Ravens.
yeah.
Ravens take care of business. They kick the shit out of the Bengals, 38-3. They clinch a spot in the playoffs. The one thing that I would say about the AFC playoffs, I feel like the best teams are in. The right teams are in here. There's like 3 weeks ago, it looked like the Ravens weren't going to get in. I mean, you can say the Browns got in. Then that's the next game here. The Browns hold on. They beat the Steelers. Steelers fail at a 2-point conversion. The Browns make the playoffs for, I don't know, first time in 17 years, however long
Mason
it's
Rudolph
been.
keep his head?
Yes.
Okay.
As far as I know.
22-24. Browns are in. I don't know. There's not a whole lot else to say. They beat the Steelers with Mason Randolph at quarterback, which is always fun.
If the Browns blew that game, they would have ran those guys out of town, right? Like, that's it for Baker. I didn't watch any of that game. I don't know if he was decent or not. I know the Steelers are a great organization, good defense.
Big
and
Ben
everything,
wasn't
but
playing, and they had other people.
Yeah,
out.
Bake played well. He moved around a little bit.
They will play again next week, which we will
They-
preview Thursday.
They're in the playoffs, so good for them. The Bucks rolled past the Falcons. They were already a playoff team, but
That's your other open job, by the way.
44-27, yeah, the Falcons also a job that I don't know if I'd be too interested in.
You're stuck with Matt Ryan for another year or two.
Yeah. The Packers beat the Bears 35-16 in Chicago. The Packers clinched the number 1 seed and a bye week next week. Somehow, though, the Bears still made the playoffs. I was running around in the afternoon, and I saw the group chat that said, hey, congrats, Randy, on your Bears making the playoffs. And I looked down and figured they must have won the game. No, they lost and still made it
Because of the Cardinals.
because the Cardinals shit the bed.
Yep.
I'll say this about the
As we
Bears,
mentioned.
though. They found their guy at quarterback. I think going forward, I think they've got the guy.
If they saved Mitch Trubisky and Matt Nagy's jobs in this whole cluster of a season, that's great.
Is it not toxic? Like, I'm hearing, I've read that, he has no relationship anymore with management, with ownership.
Who,
I'm talking
Nagy?
Trubisky.
Oh, Trubisky.
Like, I mean, he knows that they all want him out. Like, is that salvageable? I guess winning can save anything, but
I mean, if they win another playoff game, or if they win a playoff game, I don't know. I mean, I also think they're likely to get beat by 3 touchdowns this week, and maybe they can run everybody out of town. I don't know.
Not to bring everything back to the Jags, but it's a very Blake Bortles-esque situation.
wow.
Bortles took him to the AFC title game.
Got the
gypped out of it. I guess, damn it, you can't say that. Got screwed out of it. Got an extension, really, but was gone after that next year. So I think Trubisky's back, and if he struggles next year, they make a move. But they'll have to suffer for 2 or 3 years if they don't make that jump now.
At least you're in the tournament, Randy. I'm Gel.
Khalil Mack's playing playoff football. That's all you can ask for.
That's always fun. The Colts beat the Jags, clinched the final AFC spot in the early window.
Got a little close at the end.
Did it?
It got down to 7 or 10 or something like that.
Who was playing for the Jags at quarterback? Was it Minshew? Or was
no.
Was it Glennon?
They let Glennon start again, which
Cool.
that's just weird to go. It's a very Jeremy Lin situation that we had with Minshew. Like, they overhyped, over-promoted, and over-pushed him, and he got hurt. He didn't have any bad games to lose his job. He got injured, and then He came back and played average or below average, and
They're like, we're going to stick
no
with
more.
Mike Glennon.
He was 28
Also-
of 29 and 2 touchdowns in the first game to beat the Colts. Got injured in the second game, and then they were just like, hey, we have a shot at Trevor Lawrence. Sorry, Gardner.
And much like Jeremy Lin, he inexplicably put his hair in cornrows, which people forget.
Yeah, very strange.
That's when I was out on Gardner. That was the moment I was done.
What? So he knows he's done there, so he's just doing bits? What's going on?
I don't know. It probably fits in Jacksonville.
I like it. Let's talk about
Almost
something
Limp
that
Bizkit.
I don't like. The Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, God.
They lay an egg. They lose to the Giants 23-19.
What was their situation going into yesterday for playoffs?
They
again?
needed a win plus a Washington football team loss.
Okay.
So they wouldn't have made the playoffs anyway.
Win or
but-
tie.
Oh, was it a win or tie?
Win or tie for the
Well, that makes it even more inexplicable, the
Right.
two decisions that Mike McCarthy made or didn't make. The one he didn't make being not challenging a very questionable pass reception that led to a 50-yard field goal for the Giants that gave them a 4-point lead. And then earlier, choosing not to kick a field goal, which would have tied the game. He just does something wrong every week.
Also, no, not going for 2.
Oh, yeah,
I think
that's
this
what I
was
meant. I'm
going
sorry.
for two.
Yeah, not
Peterson was,
not going for 2 to make it a 3-point game. You end up losing by 4 and running out of time. Where if all you needed was a field goal, you could have gotten down the
The
field.
analytics guy, he did not
they were in
follow
field
the
goal range.
analytics.
No.
I mean, from what I've heard, from what I've read, it said, yeah, no, the book says go for 2 here. Make it a 3-point game. He did not do that.
Traditionalists would say don't chase points that early in the game. Leave your
the third quarter,
your
I
need
think.
for right. I'm saying like it's the same mentality.
the
of,
only
like, if you
defense.
need 15 on your first touchdown, you go for the extra point. On your second one, you go for 2. Whereas somebody with analytics might say go for 2 initially. So you know
and I
how many
mean,
possessions.
don't
you have
forget he spent a year in a cabin studying football.
Oh no,
so
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that
he
that would
deserved-
be the argument. I don't know that I'm positive that it was so cut and dry for that incompletion that
Agree.
he should be getting torched for that. So,
I-
did you? I don't know how much of this you heard.
I think
or,
he should
or
still be.
saw.
I think he should be getting torched for it. I think if that's in like the second quarter or something, like, yeah, it's probably not worth it. It's probably like a 60-40, maybe a 70-30 proposition, because we've seen a lot of like plays like that not get overturned,
Right.
and you're like, wait, that looked pretty cut and dry. But from where it was in the game, I mean, yeah, you're risking one timeout. You're down. What were they down at that point? Oh, they were down.
They were down 1.
They were down 1.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So, or 2. I don't know what it was.
Yeah,
but-
it was 1 because they end up losing by 4.
So you get a
field
fif-
goal.
a 50
so it's the difference between winning with a field goal and having to score. a
New York
touchdown.
would have
Yeah.
had to have punted because they would have had a
Correct.
60-yard
Right.
field goal, which they weren't going to.
And you would have been going down to get only a field goal, not a touchdown.
Yeah. So I don't know what their what it looks like up in the booth, like how many people they have reviewing that stuff. That's like because I don't put it on McCarthy. Like he's looking up at the big screen, and I don't know how good their big screen is. I don't know like if they.
And they're not going to show you on the road.
Right.
If it's anything close, you get fucking. Let's all go to the lobby.
Kiss cam
candy.
time.
Yeah, exactly.
A good indicator is when the other team is rushing out there to get to snap before you can throw the flag. Maybe you should throw the flag. There might be something there.
yeah, that's that read the fucking room.
Yeah.
And
Coaching.
it was close enough to where he wouldn't be killed if the play stood and like they lost the timeout and that's how they lost. Like I don't think he would have been getting flamed.
And I think he could have just called the timeout and waited for more information and then decided whether or not challenge. Doesn't matter. You can, once you call timeout, might as well use it. But
Right.
then if you use a challenge, you get to keep that timeout. Like you could have skirted the line there. But my thought or guess of how it went is, hey, what's it look like? And whoever is on the other side of that headset did not sound confident and say they probably said it's close.
That person's not coming back.
Because the ball hit the ground, it did move, but it didn't in any frame look like the guy lost possession of the ball. But it did hit the ground and move. So whatever your interpretation of the rule is, like that guy was like, he said that and said it's close. And Mike McCarthy said, I need those 3 timeouts. If it's too close, we can't afford to lose them. And I think playing to keep your timeouts versus playing to prevent points is an asinine decision.
Let me say this. We've been deprived of seeing
Emotion.
yeah, with the mask stuff. Like I don't know what McCarthy's facial expressions look like. Because, Garrett, that was a big thing with Garrett. People,
The big creepy smile.
creepy smile, clapper, had the tool belt, which is all the tools on it.
I
Like
think the
McCarthy,
Batman
we
belt
don't.
is my favorite.
Which one?
Where they call it the Batman, utility belt.
I I don't know what to make. I don't know how McCarthy, what his demeanor is on the sideline there. Like, that would have been a great instance, Robert. Like, is he flustered? Is he like yelling at anybody? I don't know. You can't tell because of the damn mask, which I get. I'm not saying they shouldn't be wearing masks, even though I think they're all very, very, very tested. But I don't know. That was just an absolute turd. They lost.
I'll put a bow on this Cowboys season. We started it, or at least I did, complaining about Mike McCarthy, and we're going to finish it ending about Mike McCarthy. You and I are on a text chat with Dan Regester, who's battling COVID, or so we believe.
Well, he did eat an onion.
He at least has lost his sense of
Tell him
taste
shoot me a
and
message.
smell.
I've got an idea for him.
Oh yeah. He should have tried the KJ method. It couldn't hurt. But anyway, he wouldn't taste the bleach anyway, the way that things are going for him. That being said, he just said, how can a team with all these weapons go, what they finish, 6-10, not make the playoffs? And Mike McCarthy totally crapped the bed and cost this team at least 2 wins this season.
At least 2 games.
At least 2. And this team they're better than the Washington football team on paper. They've got 3 stud wide receivers. They have a running back they pay way too much money for, but should be a difference maker, who's just a guy. The defense was terrible to start the season. It was a terrible season, and it ended in terrible fashion, and they suck, and I hate them. And I hope Mike McCarthy eats his way out of the league.
I
don't even know how he would do that, but I just go have some cheeseburgers and get away.
Oh.
In a nutshell, that's my biggest gripe with Cowboys fans always. Is like, the Cowboys aren't better than the Washington football team. They are not. The Washington football team's defense is legitimate enough to stand up to that team. We saw it 2 games in a row. McCarthy aside, like Chase Young, that D-line is better than what the Cowboys rolled out there.
Well, here's what I would say.
You can summarize the season and not acknowledge, like, you've got no Tyron. You have a half season without
no Zach Martin.
Zach Martin.
The
Like,
whole
Tyron,
offensive
no
line.
Lyle.
yeah, like you've got so many missing pieces. Like, if I'm talking about the Eagles season, I'm talking about injuries and then how much of a shit show they were. Doug Peterson deserves to be flamed, but it's not an excuse. It is a part of the story. Same for the Cowboys.
It is, and we'll talk about UT in a minute when you talk about expectations from the fan base.
100%.
Now, that's all true, and it's unrealistic. But at the same time, Washington football team, they have a quarterback who had half his leg removed, who's starting at quarterback. Their other quarterback that they played last week, they cut him the minute after the game in it because he was hanging out at Titters the week of the game.
Oh yeah,
like,
did we even talk about that?
They've had
We
a
missed that whole
nightmare
story.
of a season, and their coach got cancer, and they still fought through to win 7
they'll
games.
be in the playoffs.
They got good story. They got the best storylines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Our best storyline was that our OC turned down the Boise State job,
yeah, congrats. And Jerry rewarded him with a 3-year extension.
and that Jerry's wearing double masks. Apparently,
Yeah.
just get like
Good
one.
riddance.
Got to think it must have gotten close to him. The note that Fox put up about the
don't
NFC
do it
East
again.
having 11 quarterbacks starting in that division, that's absurd. Absurd. But again, it's
Shouts to Garrett Gilbert.
it's an excuse for everybody until the game starts, and then you're held against your original expectations. So, as an outsider, I think the Cowboys will be way above expectations next year, except for Cowboys expectations, which will be we should be 13-3 or better because
Hell
we're
yeah,
getting all these
brother.
people back, and we've got a 10th
13-3.
round or a 10th pick to add to the mix. Like, they're going to win 12 plus games next year. I'm confidently saying that.
Do you think Sam Ellinger will be there at 10 for us?
Do I want to repeat what the reply was yesterday?
No, don't.
According to source, he might be there at 10 p.m. on Saturday night.
Dylan, not a big fan. Yeah, I got nothing else on them. It is what it is, man. They were competitive into the last week. Okay, this is one thing I'll give them. They were competitive into the last week with a backup, which is something that I don't think ever happened with Garrett. Like, Garrett was – if they lost Romo for 6 weeks, they were going 1-5, if that.
That was what, the 4-12 season?
Yeah.
And that's how you got Zeke and Dak, I guess. Well,
Matt Castle.
Dak was a luck fluke there. And even if McCarthy cost you games, Atlanta game should have been a loss. I still think you're a 6 and under win team. So it's a shit show. Glad it's over with.
I'm
Yeah.
done with the boys.
Good. Me too.
We're still done boys, though.
Well, that's true. That's true. The Rams beat the Cardinals we talked about earlier. The Rams are in the playoffs. This is a team that I don't think is one of the 7 best teams in the NFC at the moment, especially without Jared Goff, but we'll see. They'll be a fun team to bet against for some people. The Titans beat the Texans. The Texans, 41-38 was the final score they get in the playoffs. Henry went over 2,000 yards. This was one of the most classic Houston Texans games of all
Can
time.
I read you his or Deshaun Watson's 2020 stats?
Yeah.
Real quick. On the Texans record was what, 4-12?
Uh-huh.
Finished 4-12. Deshaun Watson, 5,267 yards, 36 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He was first in passing yards, 10th in attempts, so that's good.
Wow.
So first for average per attempt at 8.9 yards an attempt. Passer rating, second overall at, it's at second, 112. Okay, yeah, second overall behind Aaron Rodgers, who has an MVP, unquestionable MVP season. And then Patrick Mahomes is a distant third at 108.2. So Deshaun Watson was absolutely out of his mind this year with like Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, and Will Fuller at wide receiver.
For half of the season, before Will Fuller disappeared for the last 4 weeks due to drugs issues.
Oh, yeah.
And they traded not to mention, an unbelievable year for him. Just wasted. And then the end of that game yesterday was amazing, where the Titans go in and score with about 2 minutes left. Of course, he leads them down the field for a game-tying field goal with, I think it was 18 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it was. Somehow that they give up a long pass play, just a 50-yard bomb, and then they doink a field goal off the upright and through. Texans lose.
I want to see the Titans and Bills play in playoffs so badly. Like those two teams, when clicking at all cylinders, are just really, really fun to see. Derrick Henry, it's just fucking terrifying to see that man run.
It's very rare to me that I feel like guys that dominate in college on that level step into the league and dominate. A lot of times the Heisman Trophy winner just doesn't, I feel like there's more Mark Ingrams than Derrick Henrys. The dude is the baddest dude in the league. And good for them. They need to score 41 points to win, though, every week. That defense has been terrible all season, and I would anticipate they will get killed in a playoff game. But then again, they can go for 41 at any point.
Do we need to give a sneaky shout-out to Romeo Crennel? Being the oldest coach in the NFL, I don't think anyone's looking at the Texans and saying, hey, he's done an outstanding job. But like we just mentioned, Deshaun Watson deserves all the credit. He's flipping incredible.
Yes.
Crennel's been his OC all year long and made soup out of that.
Again,
he's not the coach to win the games. They've absolutely botched things. But for putting together a productive
the only thing I would
offense.
say is J.J. Watt, who just basically questions everyone's effort. And if you're going to question everyone's effort, you have to kind of point towards the head coach.
I agree.
Who knows? I don't think anything is positive about the Texans. As bad as this Cowboys season was, it was twice as good as the season was for a Texans
So you
fan.
don't think Sarkisian's putting Romeo Crennel in an offensive analyst position next year?
Hey, anything is possible.
To quote a great man about the Texans, I'll say this. They've got a lot of poo-poo, but they got some diamonds.
I like it.
Well, they can't get any more in the draft because they've traded away all their top picks.
How's Laramie Tunsil doing? We don't have to get into that. Man, you got anything else, NFL? That was good.
Yeah, we did mention the NFL is rebranding Wild Card Weekend to Super Wild Card Weekend because there's now 6 games. 3 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday. That is dope. Don't get me wrong, and I am in on the 7-team playoff format as opposed to 6 teams. I think there were more interesting games in Week 17. I like it, and I'm looking forward to 3 games Saturday and 3 games Sunday, but I'm not calling it Super Wild Card Weekend.
Do you get Nickelodeon?
I think I do. That's a high. Although no one's actually going to watch that, right? We're just going to watch the highlights on Twitter because you know that anytime anything wacky is going to happen, we'll see it on Twitter instantly.
Talking to a man who listens to the Susie Colbert audio version of the Amazon Prime.
Oh, with Hannah Storm, yes.
With Hannah Storm when they cover games, just because.
Just like something different.
Exactly. So
Which game is on Nickelodeon? Do we know?
I was almost saying Falcons. It's the Saints. The Saints game.
Well, did you see that they're going to do it like a coach's film room style, where they're going to have the cast of Salute Your Shorts there, just kind of breaking down the game?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was Victoria Justice and Lizzie McGuire just double teaming. The call, sir.
Game. Like they're gonna dunk the ball in GAC.
Exactly.
Can't wait.
Ariana Grande is going to be halftime performer. Gonna meet me in the middle.
Oh, okay. We're all screwed up here.
Yep.
Okay. You want to do a little college football?
Yeah, let's move on to the kids.
Do you want to turn it up?
Yeah.
Turn it up.
We got ourselves a college football playoff. In fact, we got ourselves a little championship next Monday.
Next Monday. So we can really preview this in depth on next Monday's program.
Man, this Saturday was kind of – did Texas intentionally fire Herman the Saturday morning just to get the headlines? Because that's a very Jerry Jones move.
I did hear something that the people that are behind Sarkisian are really excited about seeing him on national television coaching the national championship next week.
You're talking about Molson or are you talking about Coors?
Okay.
They just think that the exposure of him coaching in that game is valuable to the brand. So there's some thought that this is the timing and the whole thing. We'll get to it.
Like for recruiting?
Yeah, I guess.
Like Sarkisian's going to get a lot of FaceTime? Okay. Whatever.
I guess.
I mean, the same reason
hurt, I
that
guess.
College Game Day called Brent Belima from a moving van on the way back from Illinois' final game. It's anything for airtime to tie it to your program these days. I guess if we're starting with Tom Herman, just on the surface, you agree with him being gone when he was gone after winning that bowl game. Not that was going to save him, but do you agree with him getting axed?
Either I'm kind of could go either way. If it's for Urban Meyer or something like that, Sarkisian just feels like a lateral hire. That
Yes.
might be disrespectful to Sarkisian, but
There's a couple things there. On Herman being fired, after the OU game, they went 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
They would have played Kansas, so they would have gone 6-1. That was the one game that was straight up canceled. The one game they did lose was at home to Iowa State, close game.
And
Herman's lost a lot of close games over the years and played in more close games than any other school in the country since he's been there. It seems weird to me in a pandemic where UT literally laid off 35 people in their athletic department in the last month that we're going to spend big boy money to $25 million in buyouts basically for Herman and his staff and then whatever we're going to pay Sarkisian. So just to get rid of Herman, I'm surprised by it. And it goes – if you have Urban Meyer on line one and you can swipe him in, fine.
Yeah.
That's a home run hire. If you got Urban,
Bill
whatever,
O'Brien,
Nick
I guess,
Saban.
maybe.
Yeah, not Bill O'Brien.
Oh,
But if you've got Urban lined up, fine.
Yeah.
And that's the only guy out there. Unless Nick Saban's coming, and he's not.
he
So,
might be.
well, that's true.
He absolutely is not. I know for a fact he is not.
Well, we'd have to ask Miss Terry. But anyway, none of that's important.
Come on.
My point is, Steve Sarkisian, as Dave said, is not – he's just not Urban Meyer. And the fact that they ran him off and then 5 hours later they've got Sarkisian, this university makes no effort to even attempt to show that they considered a minority candidate. To bring this guy in that day is just it's a wow for me.
I'm happy for Sarkisian because his story is well documented, right? The battles with alcohol at USC. He was good before that at Washington. He's had success. He's proven it.
He was okay. Even at Washington, they called him 7-win Steve. And there were a lot
Is
of
that
people.
what they call him?
Apparently, a lot of people at Washington weren't sad to see him leave and take the USC job, and it blew up spectacularly in his second year there. Now, we all hope that he's moved past those situations, but this is if Urban Meyer is a slam dunk, this is a half-court three-pointer, or at least a three.
I would say with Sarkisian, as far as Washington, of those 7 wins, he was beating top 10 teams, top 25 teams for 3 of them or 2 of them. He won big games there. And he put Jay Clocker, I believe, in the NFL, or was this after?
Yeah.
And then, not like that, it's a big achievement, by the way. With the situation
Jake Locker
at USC,
took himself out of the NFL within 3 years as well.
I highly advocate for someone who has an admitted and open issue, who's willing to seek assistance, who wants to then become an advocate for. I don't know his history as how much if he's talked about his alcohol abuse and if he's used his position to then forward the cause in any way or doing any additional work behind the scenes. If so, great, good hire. I'm okay with all that. I do agree with you that did y'all see this hilarious tweet on Twitter? That's a redundant statement.
Let me go look.
Hilarious tweet. One guy said $600 stimmy and a picture of Tom Herman, and then a $600 stimmy, and there's a picture of
was that
Sarkisian?
E.D. Chivery?
I couldn't tell you how to pronounce the guy's name.
Chever.
That might be the one. Funny guy.
4
Funny guy.
non-consecutive
He's
years.
got a little something.
How happy do you think he
He's
is
Twitter funny.
that he's not here on KJ Drink Bleach Day? But
Is that the name of this pod? KJ Drake Bleach?
I think that's it.
Bleach with the boys?
I feel like that's one of the most accurate opinions, and if anything, I can't wait to hear his thoughts on Thursday about this. Like, we need to save some of this for Dylan.
Yeah, I agree. But back to Sark, was anyone like? Couldn't they have waited 2 days to hire Steve Sarkisian?
you're saying
Nobody's
what was the
hired him.
rush? Yeah.
There's no other major UT. You're UT. You're Texas. Like, can't you wait to hire it unless there's some big money booster that says, I want my coach. I want a shot of him in the press box on the national championship.
Longhorn deep state, man.
It's weird, man. The whole thing is weird. The statements that were put out didn't attribute it to the athletic director. They mentioned the president of the university or the alumni association. You've got a lot of weird moving parts at Texas that are very unique. And obviously, I mentioned, how do you spend this money in a pandemic? Obviously, we know there's a bunch of rich guys. The big money boosters are making the payments, but it's still weird. I wrote about it extensively in Micah's Read of the Week, the newsletter.
I think once
which you
Auburn
can
did
subscribe
that,
to for free, available now.
Once Auburn did it with Malzahn, like you've got enough cover fire.
They
You're not the
also
only
received plenty of ridicule for that.
But at that
And
time,
now-
like,
but Texas-
Tim Cook can say, "Yeah, I
Texas
wrote the
holds
check, move
itself
on."
at in such high esteem that, like, the Texas people would have loved to have been sitting here making fun of Auburn all week long. You spent $21 million to make your coach go away in a pandemic,
To hire
and
Brian
now
Harrison.
you just spent 25 to make your coach disappear.
Yeah.
You've lost the moral high ground, which this university values.
You know who doesn't have that? Aggies, who are saying they're trying to send a six-pack to Austin in celebration of the hire. That is shitty.
Oh, come on.
I agree.
That's not
agree.
good.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't have anything there.
No,
The games. We're going to talk about the upcoming games, but anything out of
One other thing on Herman.
yeah.
This is great for him because he would have been basically a dead man walking next season. They weren't going to extend him. He was going to, and now he walks away with $15 million and can go be an analyst at Alabama and make, $42,000
He was
and
going to
take
get paid
that
that
UT
either way,
money.
though. Like, what does his stock look like? Well, who hires him as a head coach next without him going back to the AAC? Like, it's going to be not a Vanderbilt type job because he's not a Vanderbilt guy, but it's going to be lower tier big conference job. Like he's going to be a Kansas.
Perhaps, but things
type
would have got
coach.
like if they had another season like this next year and he would have gotten fired, like it would have gotten ugly, and he would have. Tom Herman is not the kind of person that would have handled
Yeah.
a lame duck season well.
I
like
would have loved it for
would have.
content,
It would have
though.
gotten worse, and he would have gotten more stink on him. This way, he walks away with that money, and I mean, if he gets another job, he gets another job. Otherwise, 2 years from now, nobody's going to remember it, and he'll find a spot.
he did not fail spectacularly at Texas.
No,
No.
I mean, his stock is, I would say, stagnant.
UCLA. I'm just trying to think of like those kind of teams. Although UCLA's on the up, like on the uptick. So I don't know. We'll see.
Reputation-wise,
no one would have.
with him might be
No one
different.
would have thought that Steve Sarkisian would get a top 5 job after the way he flamed out at USC, and he just did. So it only takes one athletic director or one rich guy or whatever to make it happen. And who knows where Herman will end up. But as I wrote extensively in Micah's Read of the Week, the newsletter, he didn't learn the most important thing from Mac Brown, which is you have to be a politician in this job. And Tom Herman is just a terrible politician. He never won a single press conference. He was weird. He did weird stunts. Remember the championship urination or championship hydration chart for the color of your pee, where he tried to smash the locker room and hit himself in the head.
He should have smashed watermelons.
He did secure the bag, which he made fun of Drew Lock for doing. So
I
shouts to
saw
him.
some Mizzou people dancing on Tom's grave with that recently.
On the local news, they were like, they showed Tom Herman's press conference that we're going to win big and we're going to win with class and dignity, and the people were like, he didn't really do that. So
It's kind of ironic that I think you're absolutely right. He was just so terrible at being a politician in the complete opposite way that Charlie Strong was. Like, Charlie Strong was completely full of class, full of respect across the board, but did not endear himself to anyone. When winning wasn't there, nobody was like, oh, well, at least Charlie's our guy. Lovable in the fact that he's a respectable human being, but
Right.
not likable in the fact that you ever want to do anything. And
and
Tom
like
Herman was the complete opposite.
Herman reminds me of the dude at Florida whose name escapes
Mullen.
me. That Mullen, where they both know that it's important to play the politics. Like he knows that it's like that was Charlie just didn't care. Charlie's like, my kids are going to be good kids, and I'm going to take care of this program. He didn't waste time thinking about the right thing to say. Herman always seemed like he was trying to say the right thing and always got it 15% wrong.
Yeah. And if he'd been winning, then he would be Dan Mullen.
Exactly.
That's a great point.
I wrote that he didn't fail on the field. The failure is his, at least in part.
He'll be back.
How about those Buckeyes?
I'm not surprised that they won. I feel like I should own the fact that I said they shouldn't have been in the college football playoff. I'll stand by that. They're definitely one of the top 4 teams in the nation. They've proven themselves to be that. I don't think that their record just like I'm going to die on the Dabo Hill.
I think both of those things can be true.
I would have been very happy to see them demolish Cincinnati and do it by 45 points and everybody say coulda, woulda, shoulda. I would have been okay with that. But we all saw the game, and we can dig in further. I want to jump to the Justin Fields situation. The kid was absolutely lights out. My nightmare I mentioned earlier is that somehow the Jags actually do hire Urban Meyer, and Urban fucking pulls a Cliff and says, Justin Fields is my number 1, and takes him instead of Trevor. I think Justin Fields will be tremendous, but I don't think he's better than Trevor Lawrence in any way, shape, or form yet.
But is the ceiling the roof?
That's the question.
I in the right situation, I think that Justin Fields will be a tremendous NFL quarterback. It's just very hard to find that. I think that Trevor Lawrence will be what Justin Herbert is, and you give him a team with a quality wide receiver behind you, and he's going to dominate right out of the gate. What I want to get to with Justin Fields, though, the targeting hit. I guess I want to poll the room here. Your thoughts on whether or not it was targeting that should have been confirmed and or kicked the player out?
By the letter of the law, I believe it was targeting.
Yes.
Yes, and I don't like the letter of the law.
No, I don't think
Actually, I like the letter of the law. I don't like the punishment that goes with it. Okay, that's targeting. That play does not merit an automatic ejection in my mind. I feel like, and now you're giving officials another subjective thing, but I think that that's only fair, and I think that that's the rule in some level of football, that there can be a targeting but not an ejection. I think it's high school or something. And to me, it's just kind of a bummer. I mean, this happens at every school. Anyone who's watched college football and they watch their team, it's happened at least once this season. Your best player goes and knocks somebody out. The players go crazy. You're gone for the game, or you're gone for the half and the next half. It's just a weird rule.
At least you can stay on the sideline now.
Yeah.
There's no walk of shame.
What was the Corey
Perry?
Corey Perry.
Stars Winter Classic?
Anytime anyone gets ejected like that,
like
image comes on. He had to walk from the football
like
field.
500 yards.
In a football stadium. That's just terrible.
There's a difference between that hit and then, like, okay, he went at the guy's head.
Yeah.
Like head hunting.
Right.
That's completely
Exactly.
different, and there should be an opportunity for them to distinguish that.
And it's hard to legislate what's a dirty play and what's a bang-bang play, but I don't know.
Leading tackler,
tough.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they were already down a linebacker, losing their other number 1 linebacker at this point. Certainly these things impacted the game. They wouldn't have won the game. Ohio State just came ready to play that day. I think the refs have the ability to call it unnecessary roughness, but not targeting when they go to review it or pick up the flag altogether. And I think if you confirm targeting, then the player's ejected. I agree. When you lower your head and your face is facing the ground and your head's parallel with the ground, you put yourself in a position to get hurt. Like, this was a penalty to protect the linebacker, not the player getting hit here. And as someone who suffered multiple concussions, I fully respect that these rules exist now. However, in this scenario, I think that you have to look at not the impact that it'll have on the game, but there has to be some level of, like, this player positioned himself here because of the movement of the game. It created this situation. And it's like you can call PI for those reasons. I don't think you call targeting for those reasons. And hopefully they figure out how to legislate that, because that just was unfortunate.
Can I ask a question? Or am I allowed to ask this question? Should we be questioning the medical staff sending him back out there?
Justin Fields? I've got a huge problem with that.
Because those were, conceivably internal injuries. I mean, like, first thing everybody's thinking is ribs. And then you start thinking about, like, when Chris Sims had his, like, spleen or whatever explode, and he still played.
Look what it did to his face.
He looks like RoboCop.
Just kidding. That has nothing to do with his face.
Now he's an A analyst. No, I don't know. I thought that was weird. I know there were some comments after he was like, "Yeah, they didn't do any like scans, right?"
Said he didn't get scanned at all. He also said, "This is football. I signed up for it."
Which
And
95% of players who suffer concussions in the moment will tell you, "I signed up for this."
Well, and there was a quote where it was like, "What was the they asked him what was the diagnosis, and he says, "I did not allow a diagnosis."
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't let the doctors even, which is like that can't be the player's decision.
Not at all. It bugs me to high hell because even in the context of
Because
this
they said
game,
that they put shots in him and stuff at halftime.
yeah.
he threw an absolute strike at the end of that series, and when he came back in, he was clearly in pain. They were up 3.5 minutes left in the first half, and they were getting the ball back in the second half. They were fully in control of the game. You're Ohio State. You've got 15 fucking Tate Martells who are dying to be your quarterback sitting on the bench. You've got Joe Burrow as your third quarterback at some point in time. Like, backup quarterback, Ohio State's a prime example of like having multiple who can step in and play. Like, you're telling me that you could have had a guy ride out those 3 minutes and still maintain control of that game. So nobody could have come to Justice Field and said, okay, 3.5 minutes left in the half, go to the locker room, go get checked out. We want you back by the beginning of second half. And I think everyone would have been okay with him coming back after half. But him running out there, wincing, not being able to like get on to like, it wasn't the exercise spike, that was Kyler, but like not really being able to throw a football on the sideline without just grimacing. Like, I don't need to see players gritted out in college football at this point, especially in a game where they're well ahead. Like, it's just ill-advised for his own personal safety and his future career.
In his press conference today, Ryan Day declined to get into specifics on Fields' injury.
I don't talk about players' health,
No.
blah, blah, it's HIPAA.
Just a policy.
No, I'm asking about your decision-making, not his health.
I mean, I don't know. I think back to everything relates back to the Cowboys. When Romo played a couple games with some like broken ribs, cracked ribs. Actually did pretty good. I think he won a couple big games with broken ribs. That looked, I don't know. That looked much more serious.
Yeah, I don't understand how he can avoid diagnosis, but then okay, we won't diagnose this as an injury, but we'll give you some pain injections. Like it just seems the whole thing smells weird. And I understand it's the biggest game of the season, and like, you know, I mean, I don't know. It's just it's an uncomfortable situation.
Well, he's a kid. He's not getting paid, and he has the draft coming up in a couple months. Like, so I mean, it's just. You would like to think that they do their due diligence, and maybe they are. Maybe they're just being quiet about it. I don't know.
And I think that's the conversation that comes up, and I hate that the angle that's taken is like, we want to make sure we're not removing opportunities from him when, like, there's I don't know, so I'm not going to speculate. Like, if we were to find out he broke a rib, like his Marilyn Manson rib, the one you don't need, like, if we were to find out that was the result of this situation, like, I'm excited for him, but on the other hand, like, yeah, it's going to feel kind of dirty being like, yeah, here we are amped up for the national title game, and this guy's playing with a broken rib, and it'll be sold as like some Joe Theismann shit. And if he were to break any other ribs or get hurt or not perform well, like, now he's having to get scanned in the combine and be like, hey, what surgeries have you had? What injuries have you had? And now that's on his track record.
Very fair. But you got to think he might come out on top if he did have his ribs removed, if you know what I'm saying.
His Manson ribs.
His Manson ribs. That's what the scientific term is, the Mansons. What else? Oh, yeah, Bama crushed Notre Dame.
I've got nothing except for Brian Kelly's an asshat, but he was an asshat before this game, before after the game. And the only thing I hate about it is everybody who would have played Bama
cover?
was...
The undeserved backdoor cover that Notre Dame got? Sorry to interrupt.
No. I think you're accurate. I think anybody who would have played Alabama that day was going to get demolished. Brian Kelly, I respect him for basically saying that and some. But that does not give you the ability to be like, well, my team's not that bad. Alabama would have beat, the Packers on this day. Like, bullshit, man. Don't say that. Like, come out and be like, I'm proud of our season. We put together this team. This is what we did. We came up short. We will be back next year.
The bigger issue in college football, though, is it's pretty clear that there's three franchises, three programs that have all the good players. Over the last 4 years, Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson have signed 40% of the five-star players in the country.
Yeah.
Which, if that happened that'd be like, because there's like 35 a year, that would be like if 3 NFL teams got 40% of the first-round picks. Like, there is a very real drop-off between 3 and everybody else. And the Aggies can complain, and they can say that Notre Dame stunk and they played well. It doesn't matter. No one is on the level of those 3 teams.
And Aggies
And
had their
Alabama
shot at-
is I don't care what the deal is. They're a half step above in talent and in coaching and everything else and experience. They're the cream of the crop.
What other bowl games did y'all enjoy?
The Cincy game was good. I've enjoyed, and maybe it's obvious because the team I support plays in the American Athletic Conference, but last year we had Memphis playing Penn State, and it was competitive until it wasn't in that game. Penn State was clearly the dominant team in that game. And then the year before that, we had LSU, UCF, and Joe Burrow getting dirty hit in that game. And I think the year before that, we also had UCF again playing maybe like Auburn or something. I can't recall, but those games, again, because of the conference, I enjoy that level of competition a little bit more simply because to me it's like you could have expanded this to 6 and we would have had some intrigue. You could have expanded this to 8 and there'd be games that people wanted to see. Because Georgia, to their credit, they turned their season around and played really, really, really well. But I think Cincinnati proved that they were legitimate all season long until their final drive.
Yeah, and that's not even on the players.
No.
I don't know if I don't know what their coach's name is. I don't know if he took credit for that loss or said that's on me. He should have if he didn't, because it absolutely was. But let me just say this: if you're a Cincinnati fan, I'm very jealous of you. I wish they were my team because they do something that annoys me more than, or that does not. Let me rephrase that. I need to fire up Grammarly. They do something I love, and that is tackle. And they don't. If they might get burned, but they tackle in space. They don't look stupid out there. They're a physical team in the right way, not like they're headhunting. In that, they wrap dudes up and bring them down, and that's so nice to watch. Because as a Cowboy fan, that just doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So shout out to the Bear Bobcats.
Any other games?
Well, we'll talk about the national championship on Monday.
That A&M game was close until 5
Yeah.
minutes, right? I mean, it's not like they boat raced Mac Brown. Everybody in the world was rooting for Mac Brown, by the way.
Yeah, they're A&M has some talent. I mean,
Yeah.
that's very clear.
Yeah, they
They're
got
years and
freshmen.
years and years
They
of
got some bad boys over
stacking
there.
players. I don't think it'll do anything for them, but they might luck out and have an LSU type year.
I mean, we now know that Sam Ehlinger is declared for the NFL draft. Does Kellen Mond consider coming back next year? The Aggies are going to probably be a top 5 preseason team. He can set every record in the history of that school. He'd be a 5-year starting quarterback.
Have we heard it, Vinny?
And no school values their traditions and their shit more than the Aggies. That dude, Kellen Mond, who knows? Let's just say he's going to have an average NFL career and he's out of the league in 3 years. He's going to make more money for the rest of his life if he comes back for a 5th year wearing that Aggie ring and has another great season.
If it doesn't work out for him in the NFL, he could always go back to College Station and sell commercial real estate, which is a booming market from what I've been told.
Yes, it is.
I mean, just bounce over to
Brian and College Station.
Brian
yes.
and College Station. Go over to Wing Zone or whatever the place is.
King of Syntax.
Wings to go.
He'll sell a lot of real estate outside Dixie Chicken.
Is that?
I think that's the place.
I think that sounds right.
Hullabaloo.
Oh man, that's all I got for college. You gonna do some quick dips?
Let's do it.
Steph goes for 62 in a win versus the Blazers last night. A lot of Steph hate lately. A lot of it.
A lot of it coming from Dame in the offseason, and I think there's probably something to do with what Steph did last night to Dame.
What did Dame say?
He said that Steph's a great shooter, but 4 or 5 years ago it was a lot easier for him to get the shots that his shots used to be open, and now 4 or 5 years later, he was sort of implying defenses have changed and they've adapted to this long-range shooting and that Dame has had to deal with that. But I'm sure Steph said, I'm 4 or 5 years too old. Get all 62 of these. And
Yeah.
there
was a little embrace with some smile and shit talk after the game.
Dame did quote tweet that video and say, you can't dish it out if you can't take it. And I respect that. I've always enjoyed the Western Conference point guard supremacy that we've had over the last decade or so. And Dame's been a big part of that. Obviously, Steph Curry is the epitome of production from point guard position. But seeing battles like this play out, because Dame can play lights out games too, and he absolutely did. I can't wait to see John Wall and Steph go against, go head to head, because John Wall plays a completely different game and will still put up 40, 50 on you. like controlling the ball differently, assuming that Harden gets out of there. But anyways, there's my NBA nugget.
Randy, can you get that vid ready? Did you guys check out any of the Ryan Garcia-Luke Campbell fight on DAZN?
I did not.
Okay.
Tell us about the Combat Sports Minute.
Hold on, before you hit play. Ryan Garcia it would be kind of a reduction to call him an Instagram boxer, but he is all over Instagram.
Okay.
That's how people know him.
Like Juju is a TikTok dancer?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, this dude has incredibly fast hands. He's undefeated, obviously. Hasn't really fought anybody. This guy he's fighting, Luke Campbell, he's got power. He's a good boxer, good record, and actually knocked down Garcia. I sent that to you and Dan. I want to play a little hypothetical. Would you rather get hit with this shot or just get hit in the head and have the lights turned out? Randy, play it. This is the body shot that won him the fight.
Ooh, that's the Boss Root and liver shot too.
Yeah, and that was it. Couldn't get up. This dude's tough, man, and he tried, but I'm kind of wondering, like, they always say when you get hit to the body like that, like everything tenses up. You might like piss yourself. Could pee blood. Could even crap yourself.
That is no part of me ever wants to take that shot at all. Give me. I've had my lights turned out. It's just like missing an episode of a TV show in a season. I'm okay. I could do it again. But the amount of confidence that Garcia has and like just I know what just happened as soon as he lands that shot, he didn't re-raise his hands.
He just hit the Jordan fist pump.
He heard something. Because right now, like, he doesn't put his hands in any kind of defensive position.
Yeah, that face says it all. That's tough, man.
Got him.
It was a really good fight going up to that moment. Makes me think about the Justin Fields hit yet again because it's in almost the identical spot. And then that's just a little left hook there, man. I don't know. This kid, I mean, I'm happy for him because he gets a lot of blowback. The combat sports community on Twitter is just the worst. People love talking shit to fighters. And this kid gets a lot of it, but good win for him. Thank you, Randy. Mask Madness has been trademarked by the NCAA. They are officially doing a bubble in Indiana. Most of the games will be in Indianapolis, home of Randy. How do we feel about that? Are you excited for Mask Madness?
It's great.
Is that appropriate for them to sell Mask Madness gear?
Well, you got to trademark it first.
I think the trademark just expired from Tom Cruise and Eyes Wide Shut. So
that's where they're going with that.
Now that they moved on, and
a lot of people think that that's the film that got Stanley Kubrick killed.
Okay, I'm by the way, I'm fine with the one location tournament. Like, that's good. Let's go. 64 teams, half of them be out after day one. The other, another half 2 days later.
How many
seems
COVID
like a little bubble?
violations
Let's go.
Do you think, like, we couldn't keep Lou Williams out of a titter, to use your phrase here?
That's true.
Or Dwayne Haskins.
Well,
or
I mean,
Dwayne Haskins
if the
in
bubble
the
was in
NFL.
Atlanta, that would be something different.
Is that why they put it in Indiana?
That's what I'm banking
offense.
on. It's also where the NCAA is headquartered, but that would be seems like one of the safer places to put the bubble.
Like, there's a reason it's not in Houston.
Correct, and the traffic. My understanding is the number of college campuses around that have dorms and space available to house players, Dallas, Chicago, Indianapolis, all three were in contention. Indy, I think, is the most closely knit option of the three. Mask Madness, if you will, I think that's ridiculous. I can't wait to see some of the Olympic Village-esque stories that come out of this catastrophe of an idea. Like, I'm glad it's happening.
It's true. It will make things 1,000 times worse if there's an outbreak.
Oh, my God.
This is big for players.
They need to not have 68 teams, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
If you think back to the NBA bubble and, like, all the players that, like, blew up on social media just doing bits.
It's true.
Like, some of these guys are going to become TikTok stars. So if it doesn't work out for them, they can make money that way. So that's a positive. I'm excited for it.
I have a correction. I have a positive. There's positive news for Chan Gailey. Chan Gailey has not been fired.
Oh.
And what's interesting here is that ESPN fell for a fake Adam Schefter quote.
Oh, come on. That happens every year.
Well, but never does the company that someone actually works for fall for a fake.
Was it Barry McCockiner?
No, it was at Tua needs help. And then ESPN wrote a piece that was their top story that said Dolphins part way with OC Chan Gailey. The only source that they have is Miami Dolphins have parted ways with offense coordinator Chan Gailey. A source told ESPN's Adam Schefter.
Do you think that they think Adam Schefter's black? They know that's just an account, right?
It's not great. We've seen it all now. So our apologies to Chan. We kind of dunked on him earlier.
It's not on the rundown.
Probably will be fired.
Yeah, it'll be funny when he does get fired
like
an hour from now.
Now they've got to go back and revise the revision.
Ooh, OC Tom Herman.
Not happening. Not happening. He's not going to the NFL. Nobody's putting up with this shit. Other quick note on college basketball. I don't know how many teams in total, but I know Duke women's basketball has said, hey, we're done for the year. I believe SMU women's basketball has also done the same. But there have been quite a few women's basketball teams that have said, you know what? The risk is not worth the squeeze for us at this point. So I will be surprised if we see the NCAA women's basketball getting to the point of having a tournament. I know we were all dying for NCAA women's notes. It's exactly what you didn't want before this episode.
Well, it's. I'm curious if like that's going to bleed over into the men's programs.
That's
I know SMU's men's. They played last night.
Well,
and we lost our
the
first
interesting
game
scenario is
Houston's good.
if some team is having a down season. I mean, if Kentucky just shut it down.
They are probably highest on the likelihood to do this shit. They've had like one player they've told to get the fuck away from the program because he started like crying out of anger on the bench.
Yeah.
And they've lost like 3 or 4 games. They're unranked for the first time in like 10 years. So who the fuck knows what Calipari's going to do?
Breaking news from CBS Sports. This podcast will never end, but Will Muschamp apparently has turned down the opportunity to return to Texas as the defensive coordinator.
Oh, terrible decision.
Barry Odom is now amongst Steve Sarkisian's top candidates at that job.
Yikes! You don't need.
It did not end well here for
Coach Boom.
for Muschamp, but I feel like you got to take that, right?
Yeah, it's very typical UT/Cowboys to be like, let's just run it back.
Bring it back.
Like, you know how many people would hire Bill Parcells?
They brought back Dave Campo.
Hey, did anybody stream any high school football over the weekend on their laptop at home?
One of us was tempted. One of us actually did it.
Paid $9.99. Is now a subscriber to NFHS network. Which,
Is that
by
a part
the
of
way,
DAZN?
It's not. I wish it was because the production would be better, but not great. No, zero replay. It's fine. It's high school and it's COVID. I get it. Battle of the best teams in Dallas, Duncanville and DeSoto. Close game up until fourth quarter. DeSoto cut it to 14. I know a lot of people were wondering what's going on with the little D, as some are saying. Duncanville moves on. They play South Lake Carroll. There's 4 teams left in their region. South Lake Carroll, Austin Westlake, who will play defending champs, back-to-back champs, North Shore out of Houston.
The Blue Bloods are in it. These are 4 big-name programs.
That's going to be they're both going to be great games. South Lake, if you're interested, they have the five-star Quinn Ewers quarterback. I think he's a sophomore or a junior. He's a stud. Duncanville's defense is insane. They create absolute chaos at the line every play. So this will be a fun one. I think it's going to be at Globe Life on Saturday. Maybe I'll go. Check out the new ballpark. I don't know. We'll see about it.
There you go.
How about that?
I love it.
Everybody hates Paul George, specifically Devin Booker and the Suns.
Yes.
Paul George is just a punching bag, man. I would feel bad for him if I didn't have the scars from the playoffs.
Well, would you feel – I might feel bad for him if he hadn't nicknamed himself Playoff P.
That's not good. That's a bad nickname. You can't give yourself a nickname, first of all.
It's actually a worse nickname than Pandemic P, which is just calling him a total failure since the pandemic.
He's probably getting some Pandemic P.
Well, there's Black Sports Online has been all over that, by the way.
What?
His yeah. Let's just keep it rolling.
We'll leave it at that.
Let's just keep it rolling.
Shouts to Robert Littall.
Let's see. Oh yeah, we already covered this. The tournaments in Indy. Good stuff. Any other quick tips I missed?
Nope.
You guys want an official prediction on Duncanville and South Lake?
Yeah, give us your pick.
It's gonna be a tough game. I'm kind of worried.
Okay.
South Lake's a machine.
Give me a final score, Dave.
You do have a father-son potential state title
The
game.
dodgeball.
Yes. Former UNT head coach. Todd Dodge is Austin Westlake's head coach, and his
Former
son
UT
Riley Dodge is Riley Dodge, head coach at South Lake. So
Riley Dodge, potentially one of the most Texas football names of all time. Old Riley Dodge.
great trade-in value.
Yes. It's truck month. You want to run it back?
Let's run it back. All right, it's time to run it back, the segment in which we talk about what we've already talked about. My computer has 6 minutes left, so hopefully we can make it. Hey, FYI, Dippy is still a thing we're doing in 2021. KJ almost went out this weekend by drinking bleach. When you call poison control, they tell you that drink is poison. All right, that's what you hope not to hear.
Wow.
But check back for our Bleach in the Mouth Thursday live stream.
Okay.
No one knows who the Rams quarterback is. Chan Gailey has a farmhouse. We'll get more to him later. Miami is looking for someone whose ceiling is the roof. The Bears, according to Randy, have their guy at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers has had an MV queef season.
What's the most valuable cue?
Oh, okay. The Texans have a lot of poo-poo and a few diamonds, according to David.
Deuce. That's according to Deuce.
KJ let us know that there was a hilarious tweet on Twitter. After some investigation, we found out it was from D. Shivery. You can read about Micah's extended Tom Herman thoughts in depth on Micah's Read of the Week, the newsletter, available now for free at micahweiner.substack.com.
Yeah, you've already, come on.
Chris Sims' exploded spleen has nothing to do with his face, this according to KJ.
That is a shot.
Justin Fields would have come out on top if he got his Mansons removed.
That's a good point.
Brian and College Station, I should say, are both booming real estate markets.
So who is Brian College Station? Like, what did he do? He found that area?
And Chan Gailey has, in fact, not been fired. Our apologies to
Thanks
Chan.
for my job back, guys.
I guess he still does have a farmhouse, though.
Terrible frat.
Chan Gailey, terrible coach, Cowboys.
I know
Correct.
nothing about farmhouse. Don't at me if you're a farmhouse guy. Like, I
Were they real?
literally don't.
I'm kidding.
We had them at Mizzou. They were trash.
Weren't Pat Green and Corey Morrow farmhouse?
That's
at
the
Tech?
story.
Second-rate KAs is what I like to
That's
call
where
them.
they wrote all their songs.
Oh, man.
What,
I'll tell you the farmhouse. I'll tell you the farmhouse Mizzou story off the air.
Fair.
Ooh, can't wait.
Elephant walks. All fair. Got it.
Is this where the cannon was fired? And
It's a different one.
that's a different story. And
Let's get the hell out of
manslaughter
here.
almost happened. All right, guys, thanks. We'll see you Thursday night for the Bleach and Mouth stream.
I want my chips with the dip, that's all I know. I don't want my chips plain, I want my chips with the dip. So bring them dips.